South Korea just made a move that could shake the global fighter jet market. The KF-21 Boramae has officially entered mass production, and some analysts say it could challenge the F-35's dominance. But is this really a near fifth-generation game-changer, or just hype? With lower costs, advanced avionics, and growing global interest, the KF-21 could reshape military alliances and defense markets faster than expected. Before we dive in, hit like, subscribe, and share this video. It really helps the channel grow and keeps you updated on major geopolitical shifts. And I want to hear from you. Can the KF-21 actually challenge the F-35? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I'm reading everyone. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get right into it. Because the biggest threat to American aerospace dominance right now, well, it isn't rolling out of something. It really is. And our mission for today's deep dive is to look right past the sheer mechanics of the jet itself. I mean, the hardware is impressive, but we need to unpack the latest updates on the KF-21 as a massive, calculated geopolitical lever.
It's way more than just a plane.
Exactly. We're looking at how a single aircraft program is meticulously designed to turn South Korea into one of the world's top 4 defense powers.
Top 4? Wow.
Yeah. This is about fundamentally altering global air power dynamics. They are trying to create a completely new center of gravity in the aerospace industry, far removed from the traditional Western monopolies.
And getting a domestic fighter jet to the mass production phase is, it's a monumental undertaking.
Oh, absolutely.
Based on the latest info, we are talking about an investment of roughly 8.1 trillion won, which translates to about $6.2 billion.
Right.
And that's spread out over 2 decades, right? Because the conceptualization started way back in 2001.
Yeah, it's been a long road. South Korea is aggressively transitioning from a country that simply builds other people's planes under license, like they did with the American F-16, to a nation that is designing, testing, and manufacturing its own indigenous, highly advanced fighter.
And those 20 years between that 2001 concept and today's mass production, I imagine that was not a smooth ride.
Oh, it was filled with immense friction.
Yeah.
I mean, Western defense contractors and geopolitical analysts largely doubted South Korea could even pull this off.
Really? Just thought they didn't have the chops for it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because building a modern fighter jet from scratch is notoriously difficult. You have to develop the airframe aerodynamics, the complex software integration, the digital flight control systems, all while ensuring the aircraft can actually survive in a modern, hostile combat environment.
So you basically need an entirely new industrial base.
You do. But South Korea, well, they stayed the course. They poured those billions into research and development, learned every single lesson they could from their licensed manufacturing days, and slowly built up the domestic engineering expertise required to execute a project of this massive scale.
Which brings us to their actual domestic acquisition strategy. So, looking at the latest news, the Republic of Korea Air Force, the RKOV, plans to buy 120 of these KF-21s by 2032.
Right, 120 units.
But they aren't waiting for the perfect finished product to roll off the line all at once, are they?
No, they are using a highly structured, phased approach.
Okay, so how does that work?
So the first wave, which they designate as Block 1, that's going to consist of 40 aircraft, and these are focused strictly on air defense and interception.
And the urgency behind that Block I rollout, that comes down to sheer survival, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's wild, but currently, South Korean pilots are still flying F-4 Phantom Asakas and F-5 Tiger Ties.
Wait, the F-4 Phantom, like literally the jet from the Vietnam War era.
Literally. You have pilots flying 50-year-old technology in what is arguably one of the most heavily militarized airspaces on the entire planet.
That is terrifying.
It is. Those older platforms have a near-zero survivability rate against modern, layered air defense systems. They are flying museums at this point.
Oh.
So Block I comes in to replace those aging jets immediately. It secures contested airspace and provides rapid response capabilities to any regional threats.
When I read about this phased rollout, it instantly reminded me of buying a house with an unfinished basement.
Okay, I like that. How so?
Well, you get the vital living space immediately. In this case, Block I's air dominance and interception capabilities.
Right, just to get a roof over your head.
Exactly. You move in, you get out of the rain, and then you build out the basement and the extra bedrooms later when you actually have the time and the money.
Yeah.
But, in the context of national security, rolling out an incomplete multi-role jet feels like a massive gamble. doesn't that risk leaving South Korea vulnerable in the short term?
You would think so, but the reality of military procurement actually flips that logic entirely on its head.
Really?
Yeah, waiting to finish the basement before moving in is what creates the vulnerability here.
Oh, because of the F-4s.
Exactly. If South Korea waited until the KF-21 was a perfect, fully integrated multi-role fighter to even begin production, those highly vulnerable Vietnam-era F-4s would have to stay in the sky for several more years.
Which is just a sitting duck situation.
Right. That is an unacceptable operational risk.
Right.
By rolling out Block I now, the older fleet can be retired immediately.
So they swap out 1970s vulnerability for 2020s air-to-air dominance.
Yes.
Even if the sophisticated ground attack features aren't completely ready yet.
That is the exact trade-off. And it's a smart one. Block 2 is scheduled to arrive between 2027 and 2028.
Okay.
That is when they will add the advanced ground attack capabilities, the reconnaissance functions, and deeper sensor integration.
So it's an upgrade path.
Right. And this upgrade path prevents any capability gaps. It keeps the production lines moving continuously, keeps the aerospace workforce employed, and critically, it makes the entire program financially sustainable.
Because you aren't starting from scratch again.
Exactly. You don't have to design a whole new airframe later. You just upgrade the software and attach new targeting pods to a platform you've already scaled up and proven in the sky.
That makes total sense. Getting hardware into the sky to establish a baseline of security and then iterating on the software and multi-role capabilities, it's a brilliant way to manage the financial reality of defense procurement.
It really is.
And the financial reality of the KF-21 is where things get truly disruptive. I mean, building up to 120 planes requires massive economies of scale.
Huge.
The latest updates show the KF-21 costs about $83 million per unit. But the operating cost is the real headline here, right?
Oh, yeah. It's only $20,000 per flight hour.
Which is incredibly low for a modern jet.
It's game-changing. Those numbers are the cornerstone of South Korea's entire geostrategic play. To understand the impact, you really have to compare the KF-21 to the dominant player in the room.
The American F-35.
Right. The F-35 is undeniably the gold standard for stealth. It features complete internal weapon bays, radar-absorbent materials. It makes it nearly invisible to enemy screens.
Plus incredible sensor integration, right?
Yes, deep sensor integration that connects it to entire battle networks. But the life cycle costs and the operational expenses of the F-35 are astronomical.
Like budget breaking for a lot of countries.
Completely. Running a fleet of F-35s can completely drain a middle-power nation's defense budget.
So South Korea is stepping into that massive gap, offering these near fifth-generation capabilities. We are talking about advanced local avionics and an AESA radar.
Yes.
And for anyone unfamiliar, an AESA, or active electronically scanned array radar, is a massive leap over older radar systems.
A huge leap.
Instead of a physical dish moving back and forth inside the nose of the plane, an AESA radar uses thousands of tiny, solid-state radio modules that can emit separate beams simultaneously.
Right. It allows the jet to track dozens of targets at once.
Without emitting a massive, easily detectable radar signature of its own. It's essentially seeing without being seen.
Exactly. But the KF-21 pairs this cutting-edge radar with what they call a semi-stealth design.
Okay, and I have to play devil's advocate on this specific point.
Go ahead.
The physical airframe is angled to deflect radar, sure, but its weapons are mounted on the outside.
Right, on the wings and under the belly.
Rather than hidden inside internal bays like the F-35, in modern aerial warfare with hypersonic missiles and incredibly advanced ground radar. Semi-stealth sounds to me like a very polite way of saying you can still be shot down.
That's a fair concern.
If a country is upgrading its military to prepare for a worst-case scenario, why wouldn't they just bite the bullet, save up the money, and buy the true stealth of the F-35? Why settle for a jet that is deliberately less than invisible?
Well, against a top-tier, deeply integrated air defense system like the ones deployed by superpowers, external weapons do increase your radar cross-section. That is a genuine tactical risk.
Okay.
However, most global air combat scenarios do not require absolute total invisibility. Much of modern air defense relies on having reliable, rapid response interceptors that can see the enemy first and shoot first.
So it's about range and sensors.
Exactly. The KF-21, with its AESA radar and advanced long-range missiles, acts as a highly effective missile truck. It can fly right to the edge of contested airspace, lock onto targets from a massive distance, and fire.
Got it. You don't always need to sneak past the radar if you can shoot the enemy out of the sky before they get a clean lock on you.
Right. It fills the tactical gap for 90% of real-world missions.
without paying the massive premium for that last 10% of total invisibility.
Exactly. But, the tactical reality is really only half the answer here.
Oh, what's the other half?
The real reason nations aren't just biting the bullet to buy the F-35 comes down to operational sovereignty.
Operational sovereignty, meaning who controls the plane.
Yes. The F-35 isn't just expensive in terms of dollars. It comes with massive, sometimes prohibitive political constraints.
From the U.S.
Right. When you buy a high-tech platform from the United States, you are subject to incredibly strict export restrictions. Washington gets a say in how you use the jet, where you fly it, when you use it, and who you can share data with.
Wow. So there are massive political strings attached to the American hardware.
Yeah.
You are basically leasing Washington's foreign policy along with the airframe.
Very thick strings, yes. And the KF-21 is explicitly targeted at nations that desperately need to upgrade from their aging fourth-generation fighters but fall into one of two camps.
Guitar.
They either simply cannot afford the F-35's massive life cycle costs, or they aren't politically allowed to buy it because of Western export restrictions.
So the KF-21 offers a high-performance alternative that does not tether a nation's foreign policy to Washington.
Exactly. It creates a completely new competitive space between hyper-expensive, politically restricted stealth jets and older, obsolete platforms.
And because Washington keeps such a tight leash on how the F-35 is used, middle-power nations are actively looking for a loophole.
Yes, they are.
And South Korea is handing them one. I mean, just look at the geography of who is lining up to buy this jet. We're already seeing this export diplomacy in action.
Oh, it's moving fast.
The latest news suggests Indonesia is looking like the likely first customer. Negotiations for 16 aircraft are expected to be finalized in early 2026.
Right, during President Prabowo Subianto's official visit to South Korea.
But Indonesia is just the tip of the spear, isn't it?
It is. The list of nations actively evaluating the KF-21 or holding discussions includes Poland, the Philippines, the UAE, Peru, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia.
That is a massive global footprint.
Yeah, and you have to look at why these specific nations are interested. Take the Philippines and Poland. Both countries share borders with massive geopolitical flashpoints.
The South China Sea and the war in Eastern Europe.
Precisely. They need to modernize their militaries rapidly to deter aggression, but they cannot bankrupt their economies on F-35 maintenance. They need volume, reliability, and modern sensors.
And South Korea is offering exactly that.
Right. But what makes South Korea's sales pitch truly unique is that they aren't just shipping crates of hardware and handing over the keys.
Okay, what else are they doing?
They are offering pre-purchase flight demonstrations and, crucially, deep technology transfer options.
Technology transfers. You know, the traditional Western arms sales model feels a lot like buying into a closed tech ecosystem, sort of like Apple.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right. You buy the phone, it works beautifully, but it's a black box. You can't look inside, you can't tinker with the code, and you rely entirely on them for repairs and updates.
Yep.
If something breaks, you have to ship it back to the Genius Bar, which in this case is a massive defense contractor in Maryland.
Exactly.
But buying the KF-21 feels much more like an open source model. Buying the jet means you actually get to participate in the industry.
To push your open source analogy even further, South Korea isn't just letting these countries look at the code. They are actively teaching them how to write it.
Wait, really?
Yeah. When Indonesia buys in, they get technology transfers that help build up their own domestic defense capabilities. They get engineers on the ground, blueprints, and assistance in establishing local supply chains.
Wow, so it's a huge economic boost for the buyer, too.
Absolutely. By offering those transfers, South Korea isn't just making a transactional sale. They are embedding themselves into the very defense infrastructure of these buying nations.
And this builds directly on South Korea's prior export successes, right? Like with their K-2 tanks and F-50 light combat aircraft.
Yes. They've already proven to these exact same countries that they can deliver reliable, cost-effective defense platforms on time without the bureaucratic nightmare.
So when a country adopts the KF-21 and integrates South Korean technology into their own defense industry, it must drastically boost interoperability.
Big time. It means Polish, Philippine, and South Korean systems can all talk to each other. They can share data and operate seamlessly in joint exercises.
So South Korea is systematically cementing its influence on the international security network.
They're building an entire coalition of nations that rely on Korean architecture, that elevates Seoul from a regional player focused on North Korea to a major supplier of high-tech defense systems globally.
It's a brilliant long game.
Yeah.
So if we zoom out and look at the core journey we've tracked today, The KF-21 Boramae is so much more than just a new fighter jet.
It really is.
It is a 20-year, multi-billion-dollar stepping stone. It's a dual-purpose masterstroke that simultaneously pulls South Korea's own pilots out of Vietnam-era relics while actively creating a highly competitive, budget-friendly, open-source alternative to Western dominance in the skies.
Well said. It's a platform that completely changes the math for middle-power countries around the world looking to modernize their air forces.
And it leaves you with a pretty big question.
Which is,
well, if South Korea successfully scales this model, offering near top-tier technology, combined with deep industrial cooperation and significantly fewer political strings, will the traditional Western aerospace giants be forced to completely rewrite how they deal with their allies, just to stay competitive?
that is the kind of question that makes you look at the entire global defense industry in a completely different light. Will the closed ecosystem model survive when the open source alternative is flying right next to it, fully armed and off the leash?
Yeah, we'll have to watch the skies to find out. A massive thank you to everyone for listening to or watching this deep dive. I highly encourage you to check out our other deep dives to keep building your geopolitical knowledge base. Until next time, stay curious.